Welcome to the weekend edition of the Fast Five by Fear and Greed. I'm Michael Thompson, and hello, Sean Aylmer.
Hello, Michael.
Sean, on weekdays, it's all about the Fast Five, the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. On the weekend, we still keep it to 5 minutes, but we're going to pick out the biggest story of the week, the sleeper story, which is one kind of flying under the radar a little bit, the most remarkable story, and then our favourite story. So let's jump into it. What was the biggest story of the week for you?
For the second week in a row, it was all about earnings. Some of the country's biggest companies have reported. What have we learned? Well, there's definitely been a slowing in the economy in 2023. Domino's Pizza's results showed that clearly, and its share price was hammered. Woolies boss Brad Banducci talked about people trading in. So people aren't eating out as much because times are tough, but they are buying more expensive products in the supermarket. We also found out the mining boom's pretty much over. Companies like Rio Tinto and BHP are paying much lower dividends, albeit they're still pretty good. But the impact of COVID isn't over. Qantas, boom times, a record half year because people are flying again. Also, the healthcare operators did really well from the resumption of normal services post-COVID. All in all, solid earnings season, but certainly not spectacular. Michael.
Yeah, big story this week. Sean, another one that I thought was quite big, and because we're talking about a sector worth $3.3 trillion, is superannuation and the potential for super reform. During the election campaign, Anthony Albanese said Labor had no intention to make changes to super. Now we're hearing a few potential changes focusing on superannuation tax breaks, and the number that keeps coming up is $3 million, a lot of money to have in super, so we're not really talking about everybody here. But the government does have a big hole in the budget that it needs to fill. Tax concessions on retirement savings, particularly those with a high balance, might be a little bit enticing. Does come with warnings from the industry this week about the impact that this kind of discussion has on the super sector, that it might actually discourage people from investing in their retirement because of the uncertainty that it creates. Safe to say, Sean, that this conversation has not finished. We'll be hearing a lot about it between now and the budget.
Indeed, we will.
All right. Most remarkable story. Can I nominate a cracker?
Sure.
So this story could have been the biggest story of the week as well. I'm talking about US President Joe Biden's visit to Ukraine. Everything about it is remarkable. The first time a president's ever visited a war zone not in control of the US military. The secrecy, he flew on a smaller 757 rather than the usual 747, then taking an overnight train from Poland to Kiev. The images of Biden with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky side by side, looking pretty stylish with his aviators on. The fact that one of the few people to know about the visit was actually Russian President Vladimir Putin, who was given a heads up so that Russian forces didn't perhaps unintentionally cause an escalation of the crisis in the region. The rhetoric on both sides, you had Joe Biden declaring Putin was wrong if he thought the West would just roll over and let him take Ukraine. Then Putin suspending the last nuclear treaty it had with the US. Add in the fact that at the same time you got Russia and China getting closer than ever before. And then fact that February 24 marks 1 year of the conflict in Ukraine, and it shows no sign of ending anytime soon. It is remarkable.
I totally agree with that. The most remarkable story of the week, without a doubt.
All right, sleeper story, one that's maybe not getting the attention that it deserves. What was it for you?
Well, mine's an example of a trend that's flooding the economy at the moment. If you want a job in the future, you probably need to hear this. It's all about the waste removal company Cleanaway asking white-collar workers to put on the hazmat vest and drive the garbage trucks. Cleanaway has around 670 jobs available for garbage truck drivers and waste plant employees. It just can't find people to drive the trucks, so the pen pushers are being asked to do so. Companies are getting very inventive around how they find workers. There was a conference, a financial review conference this week, and we saw that particularly in the healthcare sector. It means if you want to be of value in the future, be very skilled in a range of activities.
That's a good one. My sleeper story, Sean, was all about cybersecurity and some pretty intense new rules for companies and boards in this country. Basically, in short, you've got Australian organisations considered to be running infrastructure critical to our national interest will have to increase their cybersecurity protection. It essentially makes kind of board members culpable for failing to properly secure assets. And this covers things like energy and healthcare and water and food and transport and communications. It's pretty broad. Those companies say that these requirements could actually cost $10 billion over the new decade. The rules change this week hasn't probably got the attention that it does deserve considering the significance of the story.
Yes, I'm sure we'll hear a lot more about that in coming months.
All right, Sean, let us have your favourite story of the week.
It's the one about the largest ever trial of the 4-day work week. It found that UK companies are not returning to the 5-day standard. In fact, some want to make the change permanent. The study involved about 3,000 workers from 61 organisations. They voluntarily shortened work weeks late last year. Only 3 organisations have decided to pause the experiment, and 2 are considering even shorter hours. The rest were convinced by revenue gains, drops in turnover, and lower levels of worker burnout that 4 is a new 5 when it comes to work days. And Michael, about 1 in 6 employees said no amount of money would convince them to return to 5 days a week work.
4 is the new 5. So a saying that doesn't really have much of a ring to it, does it?
No, it doesn't flow.
All right, there we go. 5 minutes and pretty much everything you need to know in the world of business. Thanks very much, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
We'll be back on Monday morning with the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Don't forget to hit follow and also check out our sister podcast, How Do They Afford That?, featuring Canna Campbell, the founder of Sugar Mama TV, all about making your money work a little bit harder for you. I'm Michael Thompson, and this is the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed.